English Listening Practice. Episode 11, The Psychology of Money. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Listening Practice from English Learning Hub. I'm so happy you're here today. In this episode, we will talk about the book The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. This book explores how personal history, emotions, and beliefs shape financial choices, and it offers clear lessons that anyone can use. Over the next few minutes, we'll dive into key ideas, share fresh details from the book, and illustrate each lesson with extended real-life stories from friends, coworkers, neighbors, and family. We'll also look at how our mindset and experiences guide us, and why understanding money means understanding ourselves. Let's begin together on this journey to understand money better. One of the most important lessons in the book is the power of compounding, when your returns earn returns over time. Housel quotes Warren Buffett, who said, "My wealth has come from a combination of living in America, some lucky genes, and compound interest." He explains that compounding needs time and patience. Growth is almost imperceptible in the early years, like a seedling growing under the soil. Then it expands rapidly, like a tree reaching its height. To see this in action, consider one of my cousins, who began investing $100 every month in a broad index fund at age 25. In her first few years, she saw only small gains, sometimes even losses in down markets, and she almost stopped because the growth felt too slow. But she trusted the process and kept contributing. By age 45, her account had more than quadrupled, and her annual returns had compounded enough to generate significant growth. She sent me a message. "I almost forgot I was investing, but when I checked, I had enough saved for a down payment on my first home." Housel also notes that compounding works best when you avoid big mistakes, such as panic selling. He tells the story of Charlie Munger, Buffett's partner, who said, "The first rule of compounding is to never interrupt it unnecessarily." In other words, consistent behavior and avoiding rash decisions allow compounding to work its magic. Another deep insight is the interplay between luck and skill in financial success. Housel explains that luck is when external events help us, and skill is what we control through effort and learning. Both matter, but we often underestimate the role of luck. He points to Bill Gates, who attended a rare high school with early access to computers during the 1960s, a fortunate opportunity that few had. My friend Olivia launched a tech startup and worked nonstop, networking, studying, and pitching. But her big break came when a major investor unexpectedly tweeted about her company. That single tweet drove demand and boosted her valuation almost overnight. She now mentors others, reminding them to prepare diligently, but also to remain humble, because even the greatest effort can depend on a streak of good fortune. The book warns that when success comes easily, we should remember that luck may be the main factor. He quotes philosopher Nassim Taleb, who said, "If you see a great soccer player, it's not just skill, it's also being in the right place at the right time." Recognizing luck reduces envy and builds empathy for those who struggle. Housel introduces the idea of tail events, rare moments that produce outsized impact. In the stock market, a small number of days drive most gains. Missing these up days drastically reduces long-term returns. He warns that trying to avoid market downturns by timing trades often means missing those critical up days. One of my father's friends kept his entire retirement fund invested during the 2008 financial crisis. While many panicked and switched to cash, he stayed put, believing markets tend to recover. After the crisis, markets rebounded strongly and he regained his losses. He reflected, "I nearly sold everything when the market was down, but I decided to wait longer. By staying invested, I captured the rebound." His story teaches that resilience through the worst times often leads to the greatest rewards. The writer also talks about the opposite risk, missing out on rare up events, when investors hold too much cash to avoid downturns. He says that balance is key. Accept some risk to capture potential gains, and know that you cannot avoid both sides. Housel makes a clear distinction between wealth and richness. Wealth is what you don't see, money that you have saved and invested, while richness is what you do see, like luxury cars and large homes. He calls visible spending the loudest signal of people trying to prove they have money, but actual financial security comes from hidden assets. My sister once bought a luxury watch to celebrate a promotion. The watch was stunning, but the upkeep, insurance, maintenance, and fear of loss soon became burdensome. After a year, she sold the watch, used the proceeds to pay down her credit card debt, and said, "Now I sleep better knowing that I have more money in the bank than on my wrist." Her journey shows that true wealth often lies in unseen savings rather than public displays. Housel points out that many wealthy people drive modest cars and live in ordinary homes. They value security more than status. He recalls his own neighbor, a retired doctor, who lives in a small house but quietly supports charitable causes. He defines wealth by freedom, not appearance. According to Housel, people make reasonable decisions, not always perfectly rational ones. A strictly rational investor might put every dollar into high-return assets, but a reasonable individual keeps some cash for emergencies, even though it earns less. This trade-off sacrifices some return, but gains peace of mind and prevents panic selling. My aunt keeps 3 months of living expenses in a high-yield savings account rather than risk investing it all. She accepts a slightly lower return because she never worries when unexpected bills arrive, like car repairs or medical tests. She told me, "That small sacrifice in return is worth the calm it gives me." Her example demonstrates that protecting mental health can be as valuable as maximizing financial gain. The author says that each of us has a different, reasonable level of risk. What feels safe to one person may feel dangerous to another. Recognizing your own comfort zone helps you stick to your plan. Housel emphasizes that your saving rate, what you don't spend, is more important than investment returns. Earning a high salary but spending all of it leaves you with no savings, while consistently saving a portion of a modest income builds wealth over time. An uncle I know saved 10% of his modest salary by cooking meals at home, biking to work, and cutting entertainment expenses. Over 5 years, he built a 3-month emergency fund and began investing regularly. He said, "I never felt rich, but I felt secure," proving that a disciplined saving habit creates genuine financial freedom, regardless of how much you earn. The book shares data that people who increase their saving rate by 1% can have twice the impact of improving their investment return by 1%. This reinforces the idea that what you save matters more than how you invest. Housel argues that money's greatest value is the flexibility it provides. He quotes Naval Ravikant, The ultimate freedom is the ability to do what you want, when you want, with whom you want, for as long as you want. Money should support choices, not just status symbols. My elder sister saved enough to leave a stressful corporate job and start her own online tutoring business. She now chooses her hours and spends more time with her young children. She said, "I earn less now, but I live more," showing that financial options often matter more than titles or paychecks. Housel notes that chasing status can lead to an endless loop. You buy a bigger car to feel successful, then you need a bigger house to match, and before you know it, all your income goes into expenses. He encourages readers to focus on freedom instead. True compounding needs decades of patience. Housel tells the story of Ronald Red, a gas station attendant who lived frugally and invested wisely. Over his lifetime, his modest savings grew to $8 million, mostly unnoticed until his passing. His story shows that patience rather than income level can build a fortune. A friend from college invested 5% of her paycheck in a low-cost index fund monthly. She almost forgot about it. When she retired, her investment covered her living expenses comfortably. She said, "I never felt wealthy, but when I checked, I had more than enough," proving that consistency and time are the keys. The author also explains that being patient means weathering bear markets and downturns. Housel quotes that bear markets are painful but necessary to reset valuations and create opportunities for long-term investors. Housel warns against lifestyle creep, the tendency to raise spending as income increases. If your expenses match your rise in income, you never actually get ahead. He advises saving windfalls, bonuses, raises, rather than increasing spending. Someone I know received a $10,000 bonus and paused before spending it. He used the bonus to add to his retirement account. Years later, that bonus had grown significantly, and he said, "It felt strange not to splurge, but I never regretted saving it." His discipline shows how extra income, if wisely saved, accelerates wealth. Life's key moments: marriage, illness, career shifts, are tail events. Housel advises planning for the unexpected by maintaining emergency funds, carrying insurance, and staying flexible. A neighbor's father had a heart attack at 50, so she kept extra savings and learned CPR. When her father later suffered a mild stroke, she acted quickly, ensuring both his health and finances recovered. She said, "I never expected it, but I was ready," illustrating how planning can save lives and fortunes. Housel shows that financial choices are often driven by fear, greed, and social pressures more than pure logic. He refers to the dot-com bubble when FOMO led many people to buy high and sell low. During the crypto boom, one of my friends invested heavily at peak prices, driven by excitement. When the crash came, she panicked and sold at a loss. After reading The Psychology of Money, she now sets clear rules for her investments and waits for rational reasons to buy rather than hype. She says, "Controlling my emotions has made all the difference." True wealth is control of your time, not just a big bank balance. Housel writes that wealth lets you say no to obligations and yes to opportunities. An uncle of mine rented out spare rooms in his home and invested the income. He said, "My rental income pays my bills, so I volunteer and travel without worry." His financial stability gives him the freedom to pursue passions rather than only work for income. Housel also discusses common biases like loss aversion, preferring to avoid losses more than to seek gains, and anchoring, where people rely too heavily on the first piece of information. He says recognizing these biases helps you make better decisions. One coworker told me she once avoided selling a losing stock because she hated realizing a loss, even though a new investment offered better prospects. After learning about loss aversion, she began reviewing her portfolio with fresh eyes and made more rational choices. The psychology of money teaches that simple, consistent habits, saving regularly, staying adaptable, understanding emotions, matter far more than chasing high returns. Decades of steady action produce peace, security, and wealth, and these habits help you avoid the pitfalls of impulsive decisions. Thank you for listening to this episode about the psychology of money. I hope these detailed insights, combined with real-life stories and deeper lessons from the book, help you make wiser choices and build financial freedom. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe to English Learning Hub. Leave a comment below to share one lesson you will try. I can't wait to read your thoughts. See you next time.